Ever hear a key in a lock sound like the beginning of a horror film? Yeah. Me neither until that night. The key turned with a soft jingle, but somehow it clanged against something deep inside me. A sound so ordinary, yet for the first time in months, it twisted my stomach like a screw tightening from the inside. Then came her laughter, bright, carefree, even musical. It echoed from the hallway as if nothing had happened. As if I hadn't spent 6 months unraveling the truth behind that laugh. Half a year. 6 months of subtle absences, emergency meetings, and muffled phone calls behind closed doors. 6 months of coming home to a woman who looked at me like I was a familiar stranger, someone she used to love. I watched the warmth between us wilt like flowers left in a dark room. And now I stood in our bedroom, a gallery of betrayal displayed with ruthless precision. When Lena appeared in the doorway, mid-laugh she froze. Her laughter died in her throat like a song struck mute by a needle. Her eyes, once vibrant and full of mischief, widened in horror. Her hand covered her mouth, as if to hold in a gasp that still broke through in silence. That look, that exact look. It was the moment I had waited for. Spread across the bed were the artifacts of deception, each one carefully collected, curated like evidence in a courtroom. There were the printed messages, dozens of them, her affectionate texts to a man she called D. Some were framed, not out of pettiness, but to make a point. Asterisk, this wasn't just a mistake. This was a choice. Repeated. Daily. Asterisk. Then came the scarf. The same silk scarf Lena had insisted she lost at a conference. I found it stuffed in the glove box of Daniel's car, her colleague. I even retrieved the receipt from the quaint mountain cabin she claimed she'd gone to when her mother fell ill. Strange. Because her mother and I had brunch that same weekend. But the centerpiece, my crown jewel of truth, was a blown-up photo of Lena and Daniel in an embrace outside a dimly lit restaurant. Their faces were partially obscured by the shadows, but their bodies betrayed the secret. Hands too familiar, closeness too intimate. The kind of closeness that doesn't belong to co-workers. Lena staggered back. Her face drained of all color. I didn't move. My voice didn't crack. Came out calm, too calm. Explain to me, I said, how you burned this marriage down one lie at a time, while looking me in the eyes every morning. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Just a faint wheeze of disbelief, like an animal caught in a trap and realizing, too late, there's no escape. Where is he, Lena? I asked, my voice stripped of emotion. I just got off the phone with his wife. Her knees almost buckled. Turns out Daniel called in sick today. Strange how the lies fall apart when the truth catches up, isn't it? The tears came then. Raw and hot, racing down her cheeks like they had somewhere to be. Her face crumpled, and for a split second, I almost pitied her. Almost. But I wasn't done. She had no idea I had reached out to Daniel's wife. Once I learned he was married, everything changed. The trap I had been setting suddenly had another layer. Misery, as they say, rarely travels alone. I pulled out my phone and dialed. When Daniel picked up, I said, flat and cold, "You should come home. I've got something you'll want to see." He arrived 15 minutes later. Still wearing that smug expression I'd imagined 100 times. It vanished the moment he walked in. His gaze flicked from Lena to the evidence on the bed, and I saw the blood drain from his face too. Lena looked like a ghost. What followed wasn't a conversation. It was warfare. Words became knives. Accusations were hurled like grenades. Tears streamed. And every pretty little lie they had told each other, told us, came undone in a storm of shouting, sobbing, and stunned silence. It was brutal, but necessary. Then came the quiet. The kind of silence that feels heavy. Final. Lena turned to me, her voice barely a whisper. "Michael, please." But the man she'd once loved. The man who would have moved heaven and earth for her. He was gone. He had died slowly, shredded by 1,000 small betrayals. I stared at her, empty. "The divorce will be ugly," I said, "but I won't be here to see it. I want you gone." Time passed. I sold the house, the place where joy and heartbreak had shared too many rooms. I moved to a new city, built a new life. The pain dulled. The memories faded like old photographs left in sunlight. Anger was replaced with something quieter. Not forgiveness exactly, just distance. Lena and Daniel didn't last. Their relationship collapsed like a house of cards, weighed down by guilt and mutual resentment. I didn't gloat. I didn't even care. I had already lived through the worst. Years later, I sat alone in a quiet cafe reading. Life had become gentler, steadier. Then I heard it, a laugh. Familiar. Older. Winter. I looked up. Lena. Time had left its mark on her face. Her eyes still held that flicker of sorrow. Our eyes met for a brief moment, and in that second, everything came rushing back. The bedroom, the photo, the lies. She looked away first, her gaze dropping, shame flickering behind her lashes like a dying candle. I closed my book, a small, tired smile touching my lips. Not bitter. Not triumphant. As in. The anger had long since dissolved. And what remained is the kind that's earned. I stepped out into the sunlight and never looked back.